Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to Funky Inspiration. We're your host, Daniela, a place to find peculiar ways to look at life and be inspired by this life. I hope you will join me every Wednesday in finding new ways to have a better quality of life. Thank you for stopping by. Lots of love, my friends. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to Funky Inspiration with your host, Daniela. In today's episodes, I want to talk about life and death, especially death. Death and dying is something I have always been fascinated with. And it sounds, I know, a bit morbid, but my friends, I think this is such an important topic to consider, to talk about, because what is more truth than that we are all going to die? Maybe we will have other lives. Who knows? I don't know. And if you know, great for you. But, the thing is, we often forget how fragile life is, how little time we truly have on earth, and how we need to always be thinking about how to best live our life the way that we want to, not the way that our mom wants us to live our life, the way our father wants us to live our life, our friends or family or anyone. It should only be something that is for you. Your life is yours and you are the master and the creator of your own life. So therefore, this is a topic that truly fascinates me, especially right now, as I'm sure by now, if you live in the US or even outside the US, you have heard of the tragic of Kobe Bryant's death, along with all the other people that were with him in the helicopter, including his daughter, who's 13 years old. So I think of so much of her little young soul, who has lived such a short life. 13 years is such a short life, I think. It always makes me sad when people pass away, but especially when people die at such a young age, because there's so much they still haven't experienced and lived through, and this is something I always think about and say, even to myself this day. I'm actually thinking of a story now, because there was a shooting that happened in Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey airport a couple years ago, and I was there Sunday, and the shooting happened on like a Monday or Tuesday morning. So the next day after I had left, and I had been there for 10 hours in that airport. And I remember when I came home, my mom, the day that the shooting happened, my mom hugged me very tightly and she said, "I am so glad you are home. I am so grateful you are home," because she saw the news and she was like, "Imagine if you would still had been there in that airport, I would have been going crazy." And I remember telling my mom, "You know what, Mom? It's completely okay. If I would have been there, of course, I don't want to die. I am young." At that point, I was maybe 25, 26 years old. And I told her, "Of course, I don't want to die. I am very, very young. But Mom, I have lived such a wonderful life already. I am so happy and so blessed with the life I have lived thus far that it's okay. If I would have been, in that airport and I would have been shot or something happened to me, I will want you to just know that I went out with a bang, because I have really, truly enjoyed myself, especially in the last few years of my life. At that point, I have really gone above and beyond, finding myself, finding things, and I am still finding myself. This is a never-ending story for any human being on this planet. We are constantly trying to find ourselves and trying to evolve and recreate, and always looking for ways to better ourselves. But at that point, I wanted her to understand that it was okay. If God took me, the universe took me, it would have been okay. I would have been completely okay by it, because I felt that I have lived a beautiful life. I still do feel this way, even though I still don't want to go. I'm aiming for 120 year friends. So I hope that is the age when I go down. But, regardless, I am so happy that that I can say this. I am 29 years old today, at this time recording this, and I'm still grateful, and every time I get on a plane or like a scary situation like that, I always think, okay, how do I feel with my life thus far? And this is a great way to live, because I think so many people wait to live their life to play the play button later on. I will do it later. I will do it when I retire. I will do it in so many months, so many years, and so on. But we hardly ever take the moment to enjoy the present moment. And this is very, very important. And if there's a beautiful lesson to learn about Kobe Bryant's death and the death of everybody on that helicopter and everybody who dies every day, because let's face it, people are dying every day, but somehow we choose to ignore this, to think that it doesn't happen, to think that we are immortals, that we are never going to die. So let's face the truth that we are all going to die, and that we should be always trying to live our best life. Whatever that might be for you is what is the best for you, so think about that. Think about the fact that life is fragile, that it can go away in just a second. Last year I got to experience death very close to home, because my grandmother and my grandfather passed. And my grandmother passed first, and then a few months later my grandfather passed away. And I was, when my grandmother passed, it was a shock to me, to my family, because we often were thinking that my grandfather will go first, because he was always more sick and she was more healthy. And the way that it happened, it was just like she went to the hospital, and then they started to find all these things that were wrong, and soon after that she was gone. But even with her being gone, I was very sad and devastated, because I love my family. I love my grandparents. But I was still so grateful and happy with God in the universe, because they gave me my grandmother for 92 years. And 92 years is such a beautiful number, The fact that she has lived so many years here on planet Earth is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think this is always why I feel really sad when people haven't even reached, I feel like if you haven't even reached your mid 70s, you are still young, you are still a very young person. So it always makes me really sad to hear stories like that, when people pass away very, very young, because they haven't lived enough, I think. But again, this is something that I always think about, because even if I am young, let's say, I still want to try every day to live my best life, to not leave it for the next day, the next year, the next month, but put in place the steps, the organizations, or the ideas, or the goals, the ideals I want to create, put it in place now, so that I can have all these things as soon as possible. Because life is always moving, always changing, always evolving, and we don't know when our last day on earth will be. And don't take that lightly. Take that very, very serious, because we often forget about that. And I remember in 2018, one of my mom's biggest dream was to go to Paris, to go visit Paris. And thankfully I decided, I'm gonna make this happen for her. And I wasn't, I am still not in the financial position to take my family on trips and do stuff like that. But if you have an idea and if you have a goal and you set yourself out to do it, you will do it, my friend, because that is the power of choosing and knowing exactly what you want. So I remember I started up saving. I stopped, going out to eat so much and things like that. And I said I will do it. And I think in a matter of a few months, we decided to do it. And, I started to talk to my friends abroad and figure out how I could manage to do this. And we did it, I went with my mom, my cousin, and a friend to Paris, and not even just Paris. We went to 3 countries, and we had a beautiful, beautiful time. It was for Mother's Day, so it was even more special for my mom. And it's a trip I will never forget. I will never, never forget, and I'm sure my mother will never forget. And I am so happy that I was able to do that while she's alive and well. Because that's another thing. You want to give your time, your love, and your energy to those you love when they are well. Don't be the kind of person who is lamenting and thinking, oh, I should have, I could have, maybe, why didn't I? No. Take a step back and really think, can you do it now with the resources you have? Can you at least try to make those little small dreams? This one, of course, to go to Paris maybe was a little bit bigger, but not impossible, my friends. Traveling has completely changed, and it is so much more accessible to everybody nowadays than ever before. So it is not impossible. Nothing in this life is impossible. You just need to set out the right intentions and organize yourself a bit so that you can make it happen. And with that said, even with my grandparents, that was another thing that really satisfied me, that I have really spent quality time with them. When they left, I didn't feel this feeling of I could have been better, I could have done better. No, I did. When they were alive, I spent time with them, I cuddled them, I gave them good energy, gave them massages, gave them hugs, and really spend time with them, like quality time. Because even if it's just 5 minutes of quality time, that is better. Those 5 minutes are better than me always trying or never even trying, so always think of that. How can I spend more quality time with those I love now that they are alive and well? And I know that it is completely natural to worry about money and how we are gonna get it to do the things we want and all that stuff. But let me tell you something, friends. Money comes and goes. And literally print that somewhere and put it on somewhere so you can see it. Money comes and goes. And it truly does, because I think of this trip, I think of money I have ever spent on family and things like that, and it comes and goes. It never, that's the thing with money. Money flows, you need to let it flow. And the more you hold on to it tightly, the less it will come back to you. So if you're holding back on doing something you love because of money, believe me, you're never going to accomplish anything, because this money is just, it just comes and goes. There's nothing more to it. I met somebody, actually, another fun story here. I met somebody on an airplane, and he was telling me about his dream. I think he was in his late 40s, maybe 50. And he was telling me about some life dreams that he has and why he couldn't accomplish them. But, everything he told me was pretty much why he can do it, but he's just afraid, and I kind of try to, in a kind way, explain that to him, that he was just worried about nonsense pretty much, because that is what we tend to do as human beings, especially when it comes to money. It seemed that was a big thing for him. Even though he seemed to have a lot of it, he was still so worried that if he made the decisions he wanted to make to accomplish his dreams, that he would somehow lose all his money. And I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking, these dreams you want to accomplish might even create you more money, because they might open doors for new opportunities and new ideas and new ways of seeing the world. So always, when you want to do something, do it, my friends, and try to do it as soon as you can. Don't leave it for tomorrow. Don't leave it for retirement. Retirement is not guaranteed. You're not sure if you will even make it there. Kobe Bryant, he died at 41. He's not even close to retirement age, So when you want to do something, do it, especially if you have the access to do it and you can pay for the consequences later, maybe like putting it on a credit card if you have to and things like that. If it is for an experience, I always say, for a good experience that is gonna feed your soul in your heart, I say put it on a credit card and pay it later. Just have the awareness that you will have to work for it and you will have to eventually pay it back. But give yourself that joy, give yourself that moment, because you never know what new ideas and new inspiration going through that, whatever it is you want to do will bring out for you. So always think of that. Another great tip when thinking about death and dying is to think about your obituary and write down your obituary. So your obituary is something you write before, not before, it's something they write when you die. And it's sort of like a little paragraph of how you are being remembered. So maybe like Daniela Garcia did this and that, and we remember her for this great valuable thing she did here and there, whatever the case you might be wishing to be remembered for. So let's say you are a painter, so let's say your name is Marco. So Marco was an incredible painter who loved his family dearly. He always supported great organizations, gave his money freely to those in need. Anything beautiful you want to be remembered by, write it down on this obituary. And I know, again, it sounds a bit morbid to think of these things, to write down an obituary, but I'm telling you, it is such a eye-opener to confront your own death and the fact that you are going to die. And it's very important, and it's a topic that is so often ignored in our society because we are so afraid to talk about the fact that we will die eventually. And I think it should be the opposite. It should be the motor, the motivator of us. It should be what is driving us to live a better quality of life, to live our best life, because we're all going to die. And I don't say that lightly, and I know I'm giggling here, but I'm doing that because, again, sometimes we even feel uncomfortable about talking about death, but it's so important to have it in there, not in the back of our minds, but in the front of our mind, because life is like, it can just go in 1 second. So just think of those things whenever you are, doubting on doing something you love or something you're wishing to do. It is very important to think of those things. Another thing I wanted to recommend is some movies, and because I always love to look for inspiration in books, in movies, for how to live more abundantly, how to live a more beautiful life. And hopefully these movies will inspire you to live a more beautiful life. And one of them is called Wit, W-I-T, and it's a wonderful movie. I actually saw this movie in a class I had in college called Death and Dying. Yes, I took a class in college called Death and Dying. That's how much I love this topic. And I'm very grateful because since I was a kid, I went to a lot of funerals as a kid. I don't know why, but it was very common to go to a lot of funerals. So I always joke that I went to more funerals than birthday parties as a kid, because it's true. I really did go to a lot of funerals. I think my mom just knew a lot of people, and we constantly were at funerals. But I really appreciated this, and appreciate it even more now, because I think from a young age I understood that life had an ending point, that this time we have here is not forever. And for me, the way adults acted never made sense sometimes, especially when I was a kid. I would always question things when I was a little child. I will question, like, why are they acting like that, and why do they want to do this just because of money? I never understood these things. And I somehow understand them now, and I see why people make choices and sacrifices, but I still think that we make way too many sacrifices in our day-to-day life, and we forget to enjoy ourselves more. And it's something we really need to come to terms with, because this life, at least this one right now, the one you're having right now, I don't know if you have more after this one. I have heard that I have had more than this life that I'm living right now. And cool, that's amazing. But I am only aware in this moment about this one life. So I want to make sure I go out with so much happiness and so much joy that, that the day of my death, I don't think, man, I wish I could have. I wish I would have done this. I would have done that. No, I want to go out and say, you know what? I did my best. I tried my best, and I live a wonderful life. I am happy. I am content. And that's how I want you to feel when you go down. I want you to feel that you gave this life your all, that you really lived your life for you, for the things you wanted to do, not to please anybody else, but to please yourself. And pleasing yourself only when you are not harming others. Of course, if it's going to truly harm other people, be careful. You don't want to cause any harm to anyone. That is never the case. But often, living our life is not going to harm other people. Living the life the way that we want it. Staying true to ourselves, staying authentic to ourselves. So really try to think of those things, my friends. I want to share a quote that I have by Kobe Bryant here, and it says, I have it in Spanish in front of me. You are responsible for how people will remember you. So don't take this lightly. It is important that we try to inspire other people to live an incredible life in the way that they want it. It goes somehow like that, the quote. And I thought that was a beautiful quote, because I think that is what we are all here to do, to inspire one another. We are here to inspire one another. Never forget that. We all inspire each other, even if we don't let each other know that we inspire one another. I have a friend who says that you never know who you inspire, because sometimes we are providing inspiration for people, and that person might not even let us know that we inspired them. So that's something even I myself, I'm trying to work on even more this year. I want to reach out to those people that inspire me and let them know that they are inspiring me, commenting on something they post, something they said, because it is important to make others aware that they inspired you, because we are all often and always, I think, especially in today's age with social media and all of that, we are constantly being inspired by others. So let's make that, let's show them that awareness that we are being inspired by them. And let's always keep in mind how fragile life is. The money comes and go. Money that you spend on yourself for experiences and those things that you love, that are gonna feed your soul, and money that you spend on your family to help them accomplish their dreams and things like this. This is money that you're never going to regret spending. So always spend it with joy and gratitude. Figure out ways to make yourself happy and those around you happy, because it is so important to live a good quality of life. And one important thing I want to make you aware of is that nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. You are not trapped. There is, you are not in prison. This is what I tell people. And even if you are in prison, you still have choices. We all have choices on how we live our day to day. There's people that go to prison and end up being, changing their life for the better, reading books, going to school in prison, and doing things that really, make their days better. You can be, a janitor and make other people happy. You don't have to be somebody successful to bring joy, happiness, and light to this world. You can be whoever you are and still bring so much love and joy and kindness to other people. And this is something I want you to really think about, because often we feel trapped. We feel that we cannot change anything. And yes, you can. You always have choices. You always have access to change the things that you don't like. Of course, it may mean that you have to do it slowly and, with caution and things like that. Because, for example, let's say that you completely hate the job you are in right now and you want to change it. But maybe you cannot just pick up and leave because you don't have the savings or you don't have another job waiting for you or anything like that. Then perhaps you could start saving up, start, buying things to make you happy, and really putting this money aside so that you can maybe quit your job and have at least 1 to 2 months where you have a free period where you can just enjoy yourself and really figure out what it is you want to do next. And hopefully that's another podcast episode I will be recording on taking a gap year or gap month. This is something very popular right now, especially with millennials, I know, but I think there's such great benefits to this, and I definitely want to highlight those benefits here on the podcast. So we will talk about it soon. But if there's something that you want to change in your life, there's always a way. So just sit down, breathe, be in nature, drink lots of water. Sounds so simple, but all these things will help you to clear your mind, to get to your heart center and really figure out the things you truly want, the things you really want to have in this life. And ask yourself questions. Never stop asking yourself questions. With these podcasts that I'm recording, what I wish to do most is to bring you awareness, to bring you to ask yourself questions. Make a list of the things you love, of the things you don't love, and so on. But make yourself every day a little bit more aware of the life you truly want for yourself, how you want to be remembered in this world. It is important. I think like I said, the biggest thing we can leave behind is inspiration. So think, how can you inspire others? And believe me, there's something within you that inspire other people. We all have so much beauty and wisdom within ourselves, and we can all identify with each other. So if you just start sharing and being there for other people, believe me, people are going to gravitate towards you. They will love what you have to share. And you can share in any way possible. It doesn't have to be a podcast like I'm doing right now. It doesn't have to be a YouTube video. It doesn't have to be it can be anything. It can even be cooking. If you are a chef who likes to make beautiful food, this is a way for you to bring your creativity, your beauty into this world. So there's so much beauty we all have within ourselves that we can share with one another. Find your ways to share that beauty. Remember this whole talk about life and death. Start thinking about your death. Start thinking that your life here on planet Earth is precious and limited, and that we will all go one day. So therefore, try to live your life as best as you can for your own desires, as long as they don't harm anybody else. Think of protecting also this planet. That's another big thing, and again, something that we will talk about more later on. And just show gratitude. Every day you wake up and you have another day with your family, with your loved ones, take a chance, take a moment to say thank you, to give gratitude to whoever you give gratitude, whether it's God, universe, Allah, whoever it might be. It does not matter. Just say thank you, even if it's to the nothing. Just wake up and say thank you. Show some gratitude for being alive, for being able to even arrive home safely. That's one quote I kept seeing on my Instagram pop up, is that we take for granted how much of a blessing it is to arrive home safely after coming back home from, if you went to work or somewhere out And it really is. It's such a blessing to arrive home safe and sound. It's really funny because now it just came to my mind. For example, I'm from the Dominican Republic, and people from the Dominican Republic, when we go in the plane, when we land, we usually clap. We clap our hands in joy and in gratitude because we arrived to the destination safe and sound. And this is something that I don't see anywhere else. I think I saw it once in one other country I traveled to, that they clap when the airplane landed. And I think it's such a beautiful thing and such an underrated thing that, people are like afraid to do, I almost feel, because they don't want to look uncool or something like that. But I think it's so important because seriously, what a beauty that we went up on this big bird, let's call it the big bird, and we landed safe and sound. And now we are in a completely different part of the world, and we can experience a whole different culture, experience people, colors, foods, culture, everything, just because of this beautiful thing called an airplane. And we often do not give gratitude. Even myself, I have held back from clapping. I've been on so many flights in my life, but I cannot even count. And I'm very privileged and very, aware of that, of how a beautiful lesson that has been for me to have been able to go so many places. But even me, like, I have stopped clapping, and it's something that I think I'm going to, next time I go on an airplane, I think I'm going to clap just for fun and see what other people would do around me, because it is a blessing. It is a blessing to be alive and to be in this world. And even if you're struggling right now, I hope you can find something that will bring you up from that depression, anxiety, or whatever is bothering you. I hope there's something out there that will really spark your joy and your interest to start living the life that you want, because you deserve it. We all deserve a beautiful life in this world. We are all here for that. We are all light and love. That is our true essence. The true essence of a human being is light and love. And I hope that we start to share more of this light and love with everyone, everybody around us. The more light and love you share, the more light and love this world will have, because it's contagious. It's like when something, this is why I don't like to watch the news. And of course, some people might say that is so ignorant that you don't like to watch the news. And it's not ignorant, my friends, because I do know when something bad happens in the world. It's not like it's not in our faces anymore. Like, when something bad happens, it's everywhere. So there's no way to avoid it. But I really try to avoid watching the news, because the news keep you in such a fear mentality. And this is something I love to stay away from, because fear mentality only creates more fear. And that is something that is not going to help anybody. A mind that is fearful and that is, afraid, will never be able to think straight, will never be able to think of clearly of what it needs to do. So I like to keep my mind on the positive side. And some people might call that naive or whatever you want to call it. And it's not that I, ride a unicorn and think of rainbows and butterflies all day, but I just think it's so important to focus on the good rather than on the bad. And even when there's, in quotation, something bad that happens, that you see this as a blessing in disguise, a blessing that you don't yet know. This is very, very important, my friends. Never think of something bad as, just something bad. It's never just something bad. It is often a blessing in disguise that you are not yet able to see, but you will eventually see. So just take it with a grain of salt, that you one day will see the beauty of that bad thing, in quotations, that happened to you as a blessing in disguise, because everything is a blessing. Every minute you get on this planet, that you get to breathe, that you get to be healthy and have beautiful, clean, drinkable water, that you have a phone where you can listen to me and listen to anything else you want, and you have Google and things like that, and everything at your fingertips nowadays. That is such a beautiful blessing. We're living in a more beautiful world than we will ever know every day. And I see this every day, and I say it every day, that the world is changing for the better. We might see a lot of tragic news and things like that popping up on social media, and of course, but be careful with what you're watching, because everything out there is to keep you in this fear-based mentality. And you are more than that. You are more than just fear. You are love and light, and that is your true essence. So think of that next time, my friends. Really consider these topics, and I hope you have enjoyed talking a little bit about death and dying, and that you yourself will start to think how you would like to be remembered on this earth. What would you like to leave behind? What is your legacy? What would you like to leave others? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you like to inspire others with before you leave? Think of that. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I will leave some comments on the podcast notes so you can, hear more about what I have talked about here today. And if you have any comments, leave it on my Instagram. I will also leave it on the notes. And thank you for listening. Love you all. Have a great rest of your week.